What's up, guys? This is Cody Bidlow with ATHLETE.X. Today we're going to be talking about the idea of how to train when you have no time. While you're here, please subscribe below, hit that like button, and if you like the video, share it with some of your friends. Very commonly do I hear the excuse that people don't have enough time to work out. Now, I do have sympathy for the fact that it is a challenge to work full-time, be a full-time parent, etc., and still have adequate time to work out. What I do not have sympathy for is the perspective of, I don't have enough time. Statements like this come from a victim mentality and make it as if the world simply happens to you instead of you being an agent of your own choices. When people say this, I wonder, well, if you had more time, you probably still wouldn't work out because your life habits are going to be the same whether or not you have 4 extra hours a week or you have 12 extra hours a week. You might work out more if you have more time, but working out versus not working out in an absolute sense, your habits are likely to be the same no matter how much time you think you have. Now, in reality, you do have enough time. You just have to care enough and make a concerted effort to find the time, organize it, and then capitalize on it. In the real world, people work full-time jobs or they're full-time parents. In America, the average amount of time that someone spends working if they're a full-time employee is 47 hours a week. Assuming that you sleep 8 hours a night, which hopefully you get a little bit more, but you probably get a little less. This leaves you with approximately 9 hours and 20 minutes per day to shower, get ready, go to and from work, buy groceries, relax, make dinner, watch TV, whatever it is you like to do. So 9 hours and 20 minutes. That's a good amount of time to do everything you need to do as well as some of the things that you want to do. And if you are honest with yourself and you do want to work out, and you do want to have the benefits that come from living a healthier lifestyle, then you have to understand you do have enough time. You just have to organize it accordingly. So how much should you work out? Well, for most people, it's completely reasonable to allot 1.5 hours a day, 2 to 6 days a week. Now, if you're just starting out, or if you really don't have a lot of time, you have, say you have family you got to take care of, whatever, you have a lot of obligations, then just focus on getting 2 days a week. Okay, if you get 2 days a week, you can see some progress. You're not going to become, the most jacked person or the leanest person in the world, but you will make progress, you will get stronger, you will build some muscle, you will burn some fat, and you will feel better. You'll have more energy, you'll get all the benefits of working out. The benefits just won't be extremely significant or as significant as they would be if you worked out more. 3 would be optimal for your average person trying to gain strength, lose fat, build muscle, and get in generally better shape. So how should you set up your training week? Well, if you have 2 to 3 days per week, and that's what you're going to commit to, then you should do full body sessions, which are focusing on key lifts, some accessory movements, and using a variety of volume and intensity. So you might focus on developing, the squat, the bench, the overhead press, and the deadlift, and maybe a prowler push or something like that. And those will be sort of the core of your program, and then everything will be built around that. The accessory movements for bench could be working chest, triceps, biceps, upper back. Deadlift can be back, hamstrings, quads, calves. Same for the squat. You want to do some of those big lifts, but you also want to have some accessory work in there so that you're constantly supporting the main lifts that you want to develop and use to grow in the long term, as well as being able to attack some of your weaknesses. Say you want to up your bench, but your chest is weak, well then maybe you should incorporate some extra chest work after you hit the bench. I like to alternate, so one bench day I might focus on chest and biceps, and then on another day I might focus on shoulders and triceps. Oftentimes people don't consider the fact that the biceps do play an active role in the bench press, and so they'll leave it out on their bench days, or they won't consider if they did a bunch of heavy bicep work the day before, how that's going to affect their bench. Not to get too far into it, but when you're benching and you're coming down, there's eccentric work that's happening in some of the biceps, and then also on the way up, some concentric work pulling, the elbow toward the midline of the body. So it's not huge, but it is something that you have to consider that you're probably not going to hear in many places, despite that being a fact. So if you're going to do a 2-day schedule, so 2 days per week, you should have a high intensity, medium volume day. So you'll pick a couple main lifts and work up to a challenging load for 2 to 5 reps, depending on how experienced you are. Once you've been doing it for a while, you can start using higher loads and lower reps. But at first, I would stick around that 5 rep mark for your high intensity medium volume day. Follow with some accessory exercises that are going to support the main lifts like we talked about, and or work on your weaknesses. The other day of the week can be a low intensity day, high volume day. So that's where you're going to do bodybuilding type loading. You're going to do high reps, lower weights, use a good variety of exercises, and you want to hit as many muscle groups as possible to give your body the maximum stimulus for that day. When you're just starting out, your body's going to enter muscle protein synthesis and stay in it longer than if you're highly trained. So when you're not as trained, you can train less frequently and still get some solid results. But as you train more and more, you're going to need more frequent workouts to stimulate the same amount of muscle protein synthesis. So at a certain point, you're going to have to hit the same muscle groups more frequently. But when you're just starting out, if you're doing it 2 times a week, it's going to be enough to start seeing some changes and hopefully gain some more motivation to then find even more time and add a 3rd or 4th day into your program. If you have 3 days a week to train, then you're going to set it up like this. Day 1 is going to be a medium intensity, medium volume day. So loads might be in the, 80% range for someone who's fairly well trained. And you might use 3 to 5 reps depending on the exercise. Day 2, you want to go higher intensity, lower volume. So that's where you're going to do higher loads, but less sets and less repetitions overall. Now you could do, say, 10 sets of 2 if you're comfortable with the weight that you're using, but it is still a challenge. So that's where you can manipulate. You don't have to do a bunch of reps, but if you're trying to hit high loads, you're going to want to use those lower reps and then maybe add more sets of that as you get more proficient. So at first you might do 3 sets of 3, and then the next week you could do 4 sets of 3 or 5 sets of 2 or something like that. And that's how you can modify that high intensity day over time as you progress. The 3rd day would be a low intensity, high volume day. So that's where you're going to do 5, 8, 12 reps. A lot of reps, probably a good number of sets, focusing on more of kind of a pump type workout where you're going to feel a lot of blood flow in the muscles. It's a load that you're comfortable with, that you're confident in your ability to lift, but you're going to lift it for a higher number of reps compared to the other days of the week. If you're doing a 3-day setup, you should probably have at least 1 day between your workouts if possible. Otherwise, if you do have to bunch them up, then you have to consider what you did the day before, how tired you are, and work around those factors. If you're doing a 4-day setup, you can have 1 upper only day, medium intensity, medium volume, so say sets of 4 to 8. 1 lower only day with the same loading, medium intensity, medium volume. 1 full body day of high intensity, low volume, so sets of maybe 1 to 4 reps, focusing on that 2 to 4 rep range most of the time. And 1 full body, low intensity, high volume day of sets of maybe 6 to 12 repetitions. So that's a basic idea of how you can set up your workouts during the week when you have to train amongst doing other things in your life, such as working, taking care of your kids, whatever. But here's some helpful tips so that once you're already training, you can maximize what you're doing, get the most out of it, and ultimately, see some results and then want to continue to do it, because that's what's going to help you in the long run. Is if you're consistent over time, when you're old, you're not going to be old and decrepit, all right? When you trip on something, you're not going to just crumple to the ground because you don't have any strength. If you've been training throughout your life, particularly with resistance training, you're going to be more resilient as you get older, and you're going to have strength that your peers will not have. And that's a very significant factor when it comes to living longer, living on your own, and being mobile enough to not need help when you're old. But anyways, here's some helpful tips that can help you in your training as you incorporate this stuff into your life. So to maximize fat loss and muscle gain, you want to spend some time in a fasted state or a caloric deficit, maybe on your off days, or utilizing that on your off days for a few weeks at a time. And then you want to spend some time where you're in a caloric surplus, you have more energy available than you're burning on a daily basis. And you want to alternate this on the micro and the macro level. So you want to alternate it daily. On your off day, you're probably going to eat less calories overall, and you might fast for a period of that day. But then on your training day, you're going to want to eat more calories, make sure your body's fully ready to go, has all the nutrients it needs to work out hard and recover. On the macro level, from week to week, you could change that as well. So one week you might focus more on having intense fasted days on your off days, and then your workouts you're just eating enough to maintain. Whereas another week or a couple weeks following that period, you're going to focus on, you might have a couple fasted days here and there, but you're going to focus on eating a lot and really on making as much, or really on making as many gains as you can during that period. So you want to toggle between fat loss and muscle gain kind of back and forth, or in a wave-like fashion, you know. More muscle building focus, more fat loss focus. More muscle building focus, more fat loss focus over time. By switching between those two approaches, you'll get the most out of your training, and you'll always keep your body on its toes, ready to absorb a new type of stressor or stimuli from you, your habits, your diet, your training, etc. To maximize strength gains, you're going to want to spend some time working in the 4 to 6 rep range and then progress to sets of 2 to 3 reps. Ultimately, you'll get the strongest when you're utilizing lower reps with higher loads. This must be balanced with the injury risk and the fatigue which come along with using higher loads and really pushing the limits of your strength. Make sure you have a little bit of general training experience under your belt before you try to crush your 1 rep maxes. You know, you want to be very comfortable in the technique, comfortable in that specific movement pattern, loading to that extent, all those factors. You might be used to working at 50 to 60% and you can squat well like that, but if you haven't done 70, 80, 85, and 90%, doing 100% is just going to squash you and you're going to feel uncomfortable. You're not going to feel comfortable and confident in your technique. So you really need to work up to that, but ultimately, if you want to get strong, you're going to have to use high loads and low reps. Supplement your diet with creatine and gelatin, such as homemade jello. Creatine helps boost strength and also has other beneficial effects, both on your brain, on your hormones, general recovery. It's a great supplement to take. And gelatin stimulates collagen synthesis. And ultimately, if you want to train for a long period and get the most out of it, you need to supply your body with the nutrients required to build tendons, fascia, ligaments, other connective tissues, and collagen is going to be the #1 nutrient you need to take in to do that. The way that I make the jello is I'll take Gatorade or juice, I'll boil it for however long it takes to boil, and then read the instructions, you'll see it, it'll tell you how exactly to do it, but I'll also blend up vitamin C tablets and throw some creatine in there as well and pour that in with the mixture, because when you take gelatin, like if you eat gelatin and it's vitamin C enriched, you're going to have a better likelihood of stimulating collagen synthesis, which is ultimately the whole goal of eating gelatin, at least for this purpose of training. Collagen is the primary protein that makes up connective tissue. It's huge in muscle tissue as well. So if you want to prevent chronic injuries, overuse injuries, and really stimulate the processes that help you recover on a holistic level, then you're going to want to eat gelatin, and you're going to want to eat a lot of it. Preferably you're going to hit like 15 grams before you work out, 15 grams after, and maybe another 1 or 2 times during the day. It's super cheap, so if you just buy it at the store in the plain unflavored packets, you can make your own, like I said, with Gatorade, juice, whatever you want. Another tip, minimize caffeine intake throughout the day, especially if you're going to take caffeine before you work out. You want your neurotransmitters to be ready to blast when you're working out. So if you've been drinking coffee all day, by the time you get to work out, say if you work out in the evening, you're going to feel fried. So minimize caffeine intake during the day, particularly if you're taking pre-workout before you go train. So thanks for watching this video. Hopefully you were able to pick up something of use. Maybe you know someone else who could benefit from it. If you do, please share it with them. I'm always happy to hear people's comments, so leave them down below. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know how you arrange your week, and tell us how you do it. Tell us how you make it happen. If you're not making it happen yet, let us know what your schedule is. Post in the comments. Ask how you can best maximize the days you have to train, and I or someone else in the comments will likely respond and give you some ideas. While you're here, please subscribe below. Hit that like button. If you'd like some ATHLETE.X merchandise, I got a store put up on my website. You can click that store button. That's ATHLETE.X.US. You can see me on Instagram at ATHLETE.X or on Twitter at Cody Bidlow. Thanks again for tuning in. Catch you next time.